So as you may have seen, preparations are well underway to slowly begin to reopen our building to welcome people back into this physical shul. Now, of course, our shul never closed, and with your help, we have maintained an online presence and been able to keep the shul open virtually for the past couple of months and been able to hopefully connect with all sorts of people across our community. But the fact that we are going to, please God, be reopening this building at some point in the next few weeks, I still think is quite momentous, and I'd like to take a few moments to think about it. This week's parasha begins with Aaron, the first high priest, and it begins with him being a little bit despondent. You see, last week we read about the Nesiim, we read about the princes of all of the tribes, and how during the inauguration of the tabernacle, when it first opened its doors and there was a great ceremony, each of them brought gifts, and each one brought a new gift each day, and they were part of this major fanfare, this grand ceremony, this opening of the tabernacle for the very first time. And the only tribe, the only section of the Jewish people that was not represented was the tribe of Levi, specifically the priesthood. And Aaron, as the leader of them, felt that they should have had something more. Now he was reassured by Moses, by his brother, who said to him, "Don't worry. As we see at the beginning of this week's parasha, you will be in charge of lighting the menorah. You will be in charge of lighting the candelabra within the tabernacle every single morning." And at first glance, that doesn't really seem to connect at all. Commentators interpret that in different ways, but I'd like to share with you the thoughts of the Ramban of Nachmanides. What he says is as follows: that Moses was not reassuring Aaron, his brother, about lighting the candelabra every morning in the tabernacle, but specifically about the Hanukkah story that would take place generations later. The fact that the Hashmonaim, the descendants of Aaron, the priest, would come back to the temple and would light the menorah once again. And still, it seems a little bit strange. But what our tradition is teaching us is that a grand opening ceremony does not just happen once. Yes, it's true that all of the tribes are involved in the pomp and circumstance that happened when the tabernacle first opened its doors. But it was the priests who taught us that actually we can restart, that we can reopen, that we can start anew at any moment in time. When they came back into the temple and they searched around for that jug of oil, what they were doing was they were saying that no matter what the world looks like at the moment, no matter what the temple looks like at the moment, we are going to be able to start again. We're going to take it in any way that we can, and we're going to open these doors, and we're going to try our very best to restart the fires and to rekindle what we had before, and perhaps even make it better than we had before. They searched around the temple. Of course, we all know the Hanukkah story, and ultimately that is perhaps one of the most celebrated festivals that we have today. When the Hashmonaim came back to the temple, it was dreary, it was cold, it didn't look like the impressive building that it should have been. But ultimately, it was the first crucial step on the road to recovery. And that first step was taken by the priests. That lesson that we can start and restart and start again at any time was taught to us by the Hashmonaim, by the descendants of Aaron the high priest. Let's remember that lesson in all areas of our life. In our shul, in our home, in anything that we do. A fresh start happens whenever we choose it to. All it takes is a good clean, a little searching, and we can rekindle those fires of enthusiasm. Shabbat Shalom.